Hi everyone, Malcolm Brody for Human Vortex Training here, endurance coach based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, coaching the Eastern Seaboard and expanding out west, Arizona and California. Welcome aboard for 2012. I'm here today to do our first Ask the Coach segment. What I want to start with today is something I've been asked about every single year, based upon the fact mostly that I am a strength and conditioning coach. A lot of people are looking for how do I take strength training and build that into my plan so I can stay an endurance athlete and not worry about bulking up and looking like a bodybuilder. So today we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm also going to go briefly over the importance of proper transition for everybody to have during the year. It's something that a lot of us overlook, whether it's because we are so excited to have our cross season or mountain biking or whatever it may be, we forget about transition. Transition is one of the most important parts of the year. This is a time that you can solidify the relationships that perhaps have gotten to the wayside a little bit during your training and your racing. This includes loved ones, family members, significant others, kids, and your friends. Remember, you're out there on your bike, running, swimming, biking, maybe you're a mountain climber. You're training for hours on end, and that's time that you're not spending with your friends and your family, and it's really important to make sure that during a transition period you are taking the time. Take the kids out rock climbing. Do something outside of your sport. You don't have to go biking, running, and swimming all the time. And in fact, you shouldn't. You should go rock climbing, play hockey, go play basketball, soccer, things that have horizontal movement, because we're on the bike and we're doing this all the time. So make sure you're taking a transition time for a physical break. Your muscles, your tendons, your joints need a rest just as much as your head does. Mental training is a huge part of becoming a top-tier endurance athlete or being able to do it for years on end. One of the things that we want to make sure we're doing during transition is getting away from the structure for training and racing, the day in and day out grind of putting your schedule around. And I know all of you out there who are watching this, if you're in it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're just getting into it, you'll find out what I'm talking about in the next couple of months. So have some fun with it right now. If you're working with a coach, which I hope you are, isn't giving you a structured training regimen for this time period, don't go out and make your own. The reason that we as coaches don't give you the structure is because we want you to have a break from that. Just like summertime from school when you were a little kid, and who didn't love that? We're always looking forward to it, right? So transition is a really important part. Maybe kick back with a nice cup of coffee, a good book. It could be a training book, that's fine. Increase your knowledge about what you're doing out there. But make sure you are taking a transition period between 2 and 7 weeks. 7's really long, but I do have some athletes that raced collegiate cycling, which began the 2nd or 3rd week of February, and they raced all the way through cross in August with a short down period of 7 to 14 days in July, August there. So make sure you're taking enough time off as is appropriate for the length of your season, the intensity for which you trained, and also for the amount of time you put in on the bike or in sport. So on to base training with strength. Where do we want to start? Well, again, we want to go unstructured. However, to stay in the gym 3 to 4 days a week is very good. And with my philosophy, I always look to decrease risk of injury and address any type of muscular imbalances or joint imbalances or immobilizations or decreased range of motion to help you perform biomechanically correct so that your structure, your bones, and your muscles can all work more efficiently and more economically, helping you to train smarter, not harder, which is the mantra here at Human Vortex Training. So where do we want to start? That's a really good question. A lot of us think light weights, basic exercises, and you're on the right track. But one of the things we really want to make sure we're doing is we're starting to fire and utilize the muscles that don't get used quite as much during our in-sport training. So we're on the bike, we're running, we're all vertical all the time. We need some horizontal movement. So what we want to do is we want to work on the areas that get tight and again, those horizontal. So our AB and AD ductors of our hip are very important, and naturally we should have a huge range of motion about our shoulder and our hips based upon the fact that they're the two ball and socket joints in the body. The problem is that as an endurance athlete, we're spending a lot of time in a closed-off position or doing a catch and pull coming up and over. So we're very front dominant, not to mention that there are mirror muscles. So of course we like to look in the mirror and say, damn, I look good today. What's on the back side though is just as important, if not more so. So When we start our strength training here at Human Vortex Training with all of the athletes, we always go back to basics. I have had a lot of individuals the last couple of years who have had some issues with their hamstrings, glutes, and lower back. And in my opinion, this is the big area, the lower posterior chain, that separates a lot of elite athletes from amateur, in that they're more developed, they're decreased risk of injury because they're developed, and they're also able to perform because they spend less time recovering and their body's in better balance. So a couple basic exercises, and I'm just going to go over them right now. I'm hoping to post a couple videos here in the next couple of days and weeks of each of these exercises. I already do have the Blackburns exercise on the stability ball up on the Facebook page, which is Human Vortex Training, and that is a group, and there's also a coach page. So be sure to check that out for the Blackburn, which is a series for your shoulders. The other series for the shoulders that I like to start most individuals with are the Ys, Ts, W's, and L's. So we have Y, T, W, and then the L's are at the side, so external rotation. These are very important because it's going to fire and isolate the 4 rotator cuff muscles. Yes, there are 4 rotator cuff muscles of the shoulder, and those help keep the shoulder back and down. And all of us, especially those of us who sit, the pectoralis major, pectoralis minor tend to get tight. They pull us down and forward and creates poor posture and imbalances at the back. So what do we want to do is we want to work the supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and teres minor major, and subscapularis. So technically the 4 rotator cuff muscles are the supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapularis. So these are really important to balance out, especially for triathletes and cyclists, since we're stretching those muscles out most of the time on the bike and on the swim, and yes, in the run too. So starting with the shoulders, just really basic. We do a little bit of corner stretching depending on how your balance is, and again we'll have a video for that as well. And then when we move down from there, we're looking at the trunk, and the trunk you're going to hear a lot about over the next couple of sessions here. That's everything between your neck, your elbows, and your knees. The reason that's important is that's where all of our power and stabilization comes from, not the core. The core is a very small part, but integral part of that chain. The next thing we want to do to activate the trunk and the core is lying transverse abdominis draw-ins, or lying draw-ins. Laying on your back with your knees bent at 45 degrees, drawing the stomach in. Pretend the belly button is being sucked back into the floor. You want to feel a little bit of tinges or tightness at your lower back. Those are the multifidi of the lumbar spine firing. This is a good thing as long as you don't have a history of lower back injury. If you do, I suggest not doing these exercises until you see a licensed and certified physical therapist or an athletic trainer if you're fortunate enough to have one at your disposal. That's just a basic exercise which goes a long way towards maintaining pelvic stability. The next movements are hip AB and adduction. Now these are really important to start where you can manage, and we don't want to have any pelvic movement. We don't have your hips moving around. We want to make sure you draw that stomach in, so it's a TVA draw in. You could do side lying Jane Fondas, which are AB and adduction. There are 2 different ones. There is also clamshells and a number of other ways that we can go through these movements for beginners and progressing up. Lastly, we want to work on the glutes. So pelvic tilts and hip lifts are both very popular here at HVT to use with our athletes, and I use them from the true beginner who's just getting into the sports, including teenage softball players with whom I work for speed and agility, all the way up to the professional level cyclists and triathletes that I have here in the studio that we're working with. It's something that's an integral movement, and we really need to make sure that everybody is aware that your hamstrings should be 61%, or have the strength that's 61% of what your quadriceps can do. If I had to put a number on it, I would say most of the individuals whom I see, even those highly trained, we're only looking at somewhere between 35 to 50% of that strength. That's a huge difference, and that opens you up for a risk of injury, but we'll talk about that in a different section. Again, the exercises for which you'd like to start with and are body weight, so no weight at all, are 45-degree bench Ys, Ts, Ws, and Ls. Lying transverse abdominis draw-ins, or lying draw-ins, drawing the belly button back, keeping the shoulders open. Pelvic tilts, or hip lifts, depending on what your recruitment is down there, and then working on hip AB and adduction. So these are a couple basic things that you can do to get started. Again, we'll hopefully have a couple of those videos posted here in the near future for you on the YouTube channel and also on our Facebook. Again, you can find the Blackburn series on a stability ball, which is similar to the Y's, T's, and W's and is a decent starter for most of you out there, posted on our Facebook page. It is a group page. There is also a coaching page as well, so please be aware of that as you go forward. I want to hear your questions, just as I tell all of my athletes. I'm not here for myself. I'm not here because I want to be the best coach in the world. I'm here because I enjoy helping you, yes you, right there, staying injury-free and outdoing the sport and lifestyle that you choose. I want to have every single athlete that I train, every single person that I talk to or give a little bit of knowledge to decrease the risk of injury while increasing their ability in their sport. So take these exercises, check back again later this week and early next week, so that's the second week of December here, to see what those exercises look like. I may also throw in some prone or lying hamstring curls to show you guys how those work. Again, working on the posterior lower chain, the trunk, and the stabilizers of the shoulders. Don't worry about weights. We'll get into that as we move forward here in base. Thanks. Send your emails, email your questions, anything that you have that you want to hear, humanvortextraining@gmail.com, and you can check out our website at humanvortextraining.com. Look forward to hearing from you guys and seeing you guys again next week.